This is Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed. So we're going to go over the last, is this going to be the last Gottman? I think we've already run through everything else, right?
There, we'll cover the last three principles. The very last one they stick at the end is very quick.
Yeah.
I think. And then, but the majority is going to be related to conflict.
Yes. And we have done one on conflict before, but we're going to get a little more granular, I think, in this one.
I think so. But they've got a system, the way they describe it, the way they break up conflicts, and so on, and which makes sense. So we'll go through it, and then we'll hit the last one, and then we'll have covered all 7.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, according to the Gottmans, there are 2 types of conflicts. This made sense to us.
Yeah, and this is the way they divide it.
Right. And this has been our experience.
Sure.
We've had both types of conflicts in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there are the solvable problems and the perpetual problems, and we're going to break down what those 2 things are and what they look like and how to kind of navigate both of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way, and I think this is probably true, they say the perpetual problem, meaning the problems that don't get solved, at least not completely, or maybe not very well, or something like that. About 70% of marital conflicts are the perpetual problem.
Right.
But don't let that deter you or make things look bad.
Right.
Right. Because there's ways to deal with that, and we're going to go into that. So the solvable problem is something like it's a simple thing. You negotiate something, you talk it through, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a one-time argument, or whatever, and you need to be able to deal with those issues effectively, but you basically solve them and they go away.
Well, we had an example here. We had this was like, you and I don't really fight that much anymore.
Right.
But this was, it was just, so Christmas came around, and I've talked about that a lot, but I get really, really busy at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I look forward to, though, is going to Christmas Eve service with my grandkids. Right. And I remember that must have been the year we joined our current church, I think. Or we were
one of those years.
It was something like that. But I was pretty determined to go to Christmas Eve service where my daughter, son-in-law, and my grandkids were going. And you had committed to going to the Christmas Eve service at the church we were currently going to, and then going to a Christmas Day service too, or something. It was something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we just didn't talk about it.
Right.
Like you had said to our other son, no, we'll be at church. And I had told my daughter, no, we're coming to church with you, but you and I never intersected, and we never talked about it.
Yeah.
So, and I heard you talking to our son, and I got very irritated. But I didn't tell you.
Right.
Right? And you sensed my irritation. So after several days, I just blew up at you, and I was like, you go. I'm not going. I'm going to Christmas Eve service with my grandkids because I'm going to sit in the back of the church with them in the pew and play with them while Dad plays on stage, and because that's what we've done for the past few years.
Yeah.
And you were like, I already told our other son that we were going to go, and I was like, then go. I don't care. We just kind of had this back and forth.
Yeah, and they weren't overlapping services either.
No, but it was just too many for me. I was okay. Christmas is like, I'm winding down. I've done all my baking. I'm done shopping. Everything's done. And I don't want to have multiple obligations over those 2 days. I want to do as little as possible over Christmas Eve and Christmas.
Yeah, we're talking about Christmas Eve.
Yeah, well, in multiple years, I've come down in my pajamas and stayed in them all day, and I just don't care who shows up because that's just what I do. Anyway. So anyway, but it turned into a rather large.
It was an argument.
It was an argument.
But it was easily solved.
Yeah.
So we solved it.
Yeah.
And we understood that we hadn't talked to each other.
Yeah.
And so we solved it, and that was done. I mean, it was over with.
Yeah.
So there's a way you have to deal with that, because it was a intense enough argument.
Yeah.
Right. But it didn't damage our relationship.
No.
The argument itself. So
right.
That's what we're talking about, is for those problems, you solve them, and then you do things so that your relationship is not damaged.
And I know that women tend to carry more grudges and carry that stuff forward more often. So I'm going to say right now, don't do that. If you had your fight and you've kissed and made up, literally and figuratively, then don't drag that around with you and bring it up in the next fight. Don't do it.
Right. But there's a way to deal with that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do that, but it's a little bit more than just knowing that you shouldn't.
Right.
Right. And we'll get to that. The other type, arguments that come up over and over again, they don't get solved. So they say when choosing a spouse, you will inevitably be choosing a particular set of unsolvable problems that you'll be grappling with for the next 50 years. So it's not doom and gloom, right? Like I said, we don't fight that much. We've talked about the 80-20 compromise.
Yes.
There are workarounds to the issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get more into the types of things that you may deal with. But you don't have to resolve the problems completely to have a successful marriage.
Right.
But you don't want to agree to disagree and ignore the problem, right? Because you lose trust in each other. You're just ignoring the problem, but it's still a thing between you, and resentment builds up, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
So, and then you end up living, you may end up living in separate bedrooms, and living parallel lives.
Right.
Like roommates, rather than dealing with that problem and staying connected.
And we knew a couple that did that, and they are now divorced.
Yeah.
They've been divorced a long time, but yes, it was.
Yeah. And we know couples that do that now that aren't divorced yet, but they're not really happy.
Oh, they're not happy. No.
So anyway, it's better to have a happy marriage.
It's better to talk. It's better to communicate, and
right. But it's not just communicate.
Right.
We need to know how to communicate.
Right.
A lot of marriage counseling is, you just need to communicate better.
Oh my God.
It's like, well, okay. But they never tell you how. So.
Well, yeah, we actually, I don't know if I mentioned this already. We encountered a young couple. We were out on a date ourselves, and we encountered this young couple, and I just said, where are you guys from? And they said, from wherever. And they said, oh, we're on our honeymoon. And I went, oh, we've been married 36 years. And she goes, what's the secret? Because that's always the question, right?
Yeah.
And I said, gratitude. And she looked at me and went, what? I said, yes, it's gratitude. And she goes, no one's ever said that to me before. Every time I ask, the only answer I get is communication. I said, nope, that's too broad. That's too big. That's too big.
That's true.
That's not. No, you need something more granular than that.
Well, gratitude sets we've talked about gratitude before, but
yes,
gratitude sets the foundation,
tone,
so that when you do talk, you're thinking more positively about each other than negatively.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what kills your connection, is just having this negative attitude about each other.
Yeah.
and then you don't want to solve problems.
Yeah. You'd rather look at that person in a negative light.
Yeah. So, and it goes without saying, if you have really serious problems and you're having trouble solving them, then, there are plenty of problems out there that you don't listen to this podcast or any other podcast and suddenly know how to do it. But, get help. And that just means asking. It could be asking a coach, and I'm not going to say therapist, because those are good ones are hard to find, and most of them don't know what they're doing. We've talked about that before. But anyway, do ask for help, and it could just be a successful couple, right? Or something like that.
Right.
Okay. So that's the influence thing. Let's see. So the Gottman Principle 5 is solving your solvable problems. And we'll talk about what those are in a second. And then also we're going to talk about how to do the argument. And we've done this in the Good Fight podcast episode. But this is, I think it's a little bit similar, but it's from the Gottman book. Okay, so solvable problems could be just work stress, in-laws, finances, who does housework, what happens when you become parents and you have to rebalance the load, things related to romance and sex, even electronic distractions. So if you have conflict in those areas, usually it's because you have different ideas about the tasks, about their importance, and how they should be accomplished or how they should be dealt with. And you need to remember in these cases that you're going to be a team and face the problem together rather than facing each other, because your spouse is not the problem. Right? It's the problem is the problem.
Yeah.
So if you keep that in mind, then you can actually solve it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And we talked about listening to each other when you describe how the other person thinks and feels. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. But we had a note when we did a marriage seminar, and we were just talking about gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our notes was gratitude takes you out of the I deserve this mentality and puts you in a I'm so glad I have this mentality, right? So it's just we talk about positive, viewing your partner, your spouse positively.
Yeah.
Right? And the challenge of the solvable problem is that you get to solve it together.
Yeah.
Not, my partner is such a pain. I have these negative thoughts, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We can't solve this problem. I want what I want.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
We could get away from that. All right. So
how do we do it? So, you need to remember that the way that you use your words is just as important as the words that you use. They have something called a harsh startup, where there's something going on with one of these areas, and you come at your spouse. You never, you always. It's angry. It's disrespectful. That kind of thing. And even if you think that your husband deserves, or your spouse deserves, to be yelled at or spoken to that way, you're not going to get the problem solved faster by having that kind of a startup in your argument. right? You're coming at it aggressively and angrily, so the whole thing just starts that way. Right?
Yes, it
Right?
does. And so what happens to your spouse when you come at them, right? They, the Gottman say the harsh startup leads to the four horsemen that we
Yeah.
talked about,
Right.
where it's contempt, resentment, or stonewalling.
Yeah.
Men can just shut down. It's like, I don't want to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's just nagging me again.
Yeah.
She's just criticizing me again, right? As opposed to them understanding how you feel about something,
Right.
or how it affects you. So, really, we should treat our spouses with the same respect we offer to other people, our own parents, our friends, our boss.
Right.
Right? We should treat our spouse with more respect than we would treat anyone else. And we often get it backwards.
Yes, we do.
Because they're so close to us.
Right.
So, if you're angry about something, then, you know, take a breath. Think about how to do it, how to bring it up in a positive way. And that's where the gratitude comes in.
Right.
Right? Practice a little bit of that. This is a problem that we can solve. There are so many good things. So how am I going to bring this up?
Mm-hmm. So instead of saying, don't say always and never. Try to keep those out of your vocabulary as much as humanly possible. Those two words.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big step right there.
So, and instead of coming at your spouse with you did this, you don't do that, you need to do this, you never do this, you never do that. Mm-hmm. It's better to go to your spouse and say, could you, or
you start with I, right?
Right. I need to talk to you. Can you just sit down and listen? Or I'm feeling kind of neglected here.
Right.
Can we talk about that? Right. I seem to be the only one chasing the kids around today. Mm-hmm. Can you help me out? Those are soft startups as opposed to the harsh startup, which would be, you don't care about me. You're not listening to me. You never watch the baby. See, always and never. You left the kitchen a total mess again. Instead of, hey, would you mind, since you left some dishes in the sink, would you mind putting them in the dishwasher for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And most spouses are going to respond to that, right? And then if you tack on a thank you at the end, they feel good about what they just did for you, and they're more likely to do more of that.
Yes.
That's human nature, right? Yes, be polite. Use your polite words, please, and thank you, and all those things, right? That's very important with your spouse. Don't leave those out just because it's your husband or your wife.
Yep.
Yeah,
here's another one. It's like, here's the harsh startup. You never have time for me anymore. Versus something that's softer. Remember how we used to go out every Saturday night? I loved spending so much time alone with you, and it felt so good knowing that you wanted to be with me too. Let's start doing that again.
Yeah.
So, you got to think about it.
Yeah.
Right? Look at your situation.
Right.
What are you tempted to say versus how can you turn it around and be positive about it?
Yeah. And this is a big one.
I'm fine.
Yeah, versus... I'm fine. I would say, unless you are actually okay, eliminate those words from your vocabulary, because the message that your spouse gets is you're not okay, but you're just not going to talk to him about it.
I wouldn't even say, these days, saying I'm fine, even if you are, is probably not enough, because you're sending this message.
Yeah.
That's understood.
Right.
That's negative. And if you say something like, no, I'm really okay,
Right.
You know, everything's all right. I'm just gonna deal with this or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you're not okay, you could say it. Don't say I'm fine. Say I'm not okay, but I'll talk about it in a little while when I'm ready.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not this passive aggressive thing that puts your partner on edge, and now they're wondering, you know, are you really ever going to talk about it, or is it just going to build up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Okay, so that's the first one. The second thing to do after you've talked is learn how to make and receive repair attempts. So this is a big one. You can it's basically a way of de-escalating the tension. Okay. Sometimes you might have a negative delivery of an issue, and then you can figure out a way to talk about it, or just acknowledging your spouse's positive things to them, right?
You should be doing that often.
You should.
Yeah.
But doing that after you bring up something negative, you know, it's a way of, like I said, de-escalating any tension, bringing, you know, I still think of you positively.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to solve this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We didn't have a lot of notes about that.
No.
Yeah. Especially if they get defensive, even if you do a soft startup, and they get defensive, then you could still acknowledge that they do whatever it is, right? So the clean the kitchen one.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Would you mind putting away those dishes, or cleaning your stuff off the table for dinner? And so even though that's a soft startup, they might come at you defensively and just say, I definitely do that all the time. And you can say, yeah, you do. And that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Just
asking you to do it now, so we can have dinner, or so the kitchen's clean for whatever reason.
Right.
Okay. The other thing, you want to take the next one there?
This?
Number 3.
So, yeah, this is something I've dealt with. Like when we have conflict discussions, feeling overwhelmed emotionally and physically. That's definitely something that I feel pretty keenly when we're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I felt it too. And this
my snap reaction is, you're not going to help me. I have to do this myself. And that is correlated to childhood trauma. That is not you, because you've never abandoned me. But that's usually my snap reaction is, I'm on my own. I have to do this myself.
But I think it can happen to either one of us.
Yeah.
And it's a physical thing when we're suddenly in conflict, especially if it, you know, of course you want the hard startup, but then until you've trained yourself to kind of relax into the conflict and just say, okay, this conflict is a problem we're going to solve together.
Yeah.
Right. It may take you some time, and so you need to take a couple breaths. It's a thing that happens to everybody when you get a little bit overwhelmed.
Fight or flight. It's fight or flight.
It's a fight or flight thing. It basically shuts your front brain off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? And if you lean into this conflict and start being negative, then it keeps that off.
Right.
Right? And then you're arguing and the argument escalates.
Yes.
Whereas if you take the time to just take a breath, give your front brain a minute, even a minute or, time to come back online and tell yourself this is going to be okay. We're going to solve this. That will get you out of the defensive mode. It'll basically, like you said, slow things down. Even if you have to take a few minutes or 20 minutes or whatever and say, you know what, this, suppose your conflict started off okay, but then went off the rails, right? Or it started bad or whatever. You can say, okay, look, we're not going to get anything done constructively. Let's take a few minutes. We'll come back together in half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever. And the idea is to say, we're not going anywhere. We're going to solve this and set a time to come back together and talk about it.
Right.
And that way you can take the time to breathe and relax, take a little walk, whatever it is that helps you calm down, and then you can think rationally about the thing.
And if you think about it, this is something we do as parents, or we should. That's the way we should be handling. Your kids are going to drive you nuts. They're going to piss you off. They're going to push you over the edge. From time to time, they're just going to do things that, and that's obviously different from a spousal conflict, but you still have to use, if you're going to use that method with your kids, and you should, multiple times that I would get angry at the kids and I'd stick them in the bathroom and go, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And I'm going to, I'd have to go sit down on the couch and take a few deep breaths. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to go in there raging angry, even though, they might deserve it. Or I just like, I've had enough, whatever it is. I'm not going to go raging in there angry. And if you're going to do that with your kid, think about how much more important it is that you do that with your spouse.
Yeah.
Because your kids, you hope, are going to grow up and move out, and then you're going to be sitting there with your spouse.
Right.
Right? So think about it, if you think about it that way. If you're raging at your children all the time, then you've got a bigger problem.
Yeah. Okay. And they need to learn how to do the same thing.
Yes.
They need to learn how to control their emotions, and you can be there for them. I wish we'd had this training when we were young parents, but it's like if the kid's having a tantrum, you can help them deal with those emotions rather than just say, disciplining just because they're having a tantrum. There may be a reason.
Right.
Or they may, just like I said, just need some help.
Yeah.
Calming down, and that's better to do it that way.
Yeah.
All right. The next part of this is, excuse me, is compromise, and we've talked about compromising, but it's about negotiating a way to accommodate each other, right? Finding some common ground, that sort of thing, and then try out the solution and then revisit it to see if it's working. And we've talked about the 80-20, as I mentioned earlier.
Right, yeah.
Some problems can be solved by giving up only 20%. Most problems that are solvable can be solved by this way, where you give up 20%, and that's enough for your spouse to feel like they've been seen, in a sense, and heard and understood, right? And your connection is there.
Right.
And then the last part is deal with any emotional injuries. That's almost like the repair attempts. Only this is after the argument, so it's basically repair attempts afterwards. If you've offended your spouse, then state what that offense was, accept responsibility, own what you did.
Yeah.
Right? Don't say you're sorry for things you didn't do. Okay, too many people do that, and that causes a loss of respect, right? Not just for yourself, but from the other person, and you don't want that. But if you did do something wrong, then own it. And if they describe it, think about it, and then come back and own it, right? But this needs to be done on both sides. If one person is always the one saying they're sorry, then the other person is not taking their own accountability for their part.
Right.
So this should be a mutual exercise to repair whatever has been injured. I just heard yesterday that spouses who do this repair within 30 minutes of an argument are vastly more likely to continue to have a happy marriage, right? But if you wait too long, or you never come, if you never come back and repair things, but even if you wait too long to repair, you start to grow resentful of each other,
right?
And that sort of thing, and we don't want to do that. So you resolve the problem, and then you repair with each other. You ask forgiveness.
Yeah.
And be specific about what it was.
Yeah. So the notes here say, saying, "Will you please forgive me for?"
Yeah.
Whatever it is. ...
And then say what it is.
Yeah, and say those words. Use the word. Will you use the words? Will you forgive me? Right.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most important phrases in your marriage, apart from "I love you" and "thank you." Those seem to be the big three, I think.
Yeah, phrases. And the other spouse needs to forgive, and that means you're done with it. It's past, and you don't bring it back up again.
Yeah.
Because that just means you're carrying resentment.
Yeah.
Right? You got to train yourself not to do that. Don't weaponize past things, past arguments, whatever, to win the next argument.
Right.
Because you're not trying to win, you're trying to solve the problem together. Okay, so that's solvable problems. I think you can also, I should say you can use that same technique that we just described for the perpetual problems, but you're going to have a little bit more of maybe getting out of gridlock or workarounds or more compromise. And the longer you're married, the more, as you see, I'll just say it this way, as you see the importance of your marriage and remaining happy in it together, a lot of those perpetual problems just get smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
so even though they never get solved, they're really not as big of a deal as you think they are early in your marriage.
Right.
And I think that's probably where we've.
I think so. I mean, I know for me, I can recognize it now. When I start to get that feeling of I'm on my own, I have to do this myself. Yeah. I know that there's something serious going on that you and I probably need to sit down and hash out.
Right.
Because that's my perpetual problem. Right? That when we get into a bad fight, and as we said, that doesn't happen very often anymore, but when we get into a bad fight, that's my fight or flight response. I just kind of withdraw and like, okay, you're not going to help me. I got to do this myself. So that's my perpetual.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm constantly seeing when she's upset, I constantly think, oh, she's thinking this is my fault.
And then you run off.
And then I like, well, yeah, I stonewall, or I'm going to go out here and work on the truck. I don't even want to deal with you right now.
Yeah.
And that just aggravates your abandonment.
It just makes me feel, okay, well, now I really am on my own. Yeah.
But you're not really. I mean, I should have said something like, I'll be back in half an hour. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I just need to cool off and do something for a minute, and then for 30 minutes or whatever, and come back, and we'll solve this. Or we'll solve the instance of it, even if it's going to come up again.
Yeah.
We're going to solve this instance together.
Right.
So part of it is looking at your perpetual problem as instances to be solved, right? So solve it for today, and then don't worry about it. And there are some things that a lot of these, like we said, aren't you're never really going to solve it,
right?
But because of the nature of the issue, and here's why. Let's see. Before we get into those examples over there, Where is it?
I'm not sure which one.
Oh. Oh, it has to do with stuff like a lot of the unsolvable problems. I'm going to cover this and then we'll go back.
Okay.
A lot of the unsolvable problems have to do with hopes and aspirations, or something that's part of your identity and gives purpose and meaning to your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a trauma in your life. So Abby's is the abandonment thing, right? Because her parents weren't there for her,
right?
And that sort of thing. So some things might be practical, like saving a certain amount because you need to feel security because you didn't have it when you were growing up, or whatever.
Yeah.
Some are deeper than that, like having a sense of order, wanting to do adventure, getting creative, exploring who you are, right? Like, what do you like? This is not, I'm going to go find myself in that therapeutic BS language that people use to excuse bad behavior. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
What we're saying is, find out what you like, what you're growing in. How would you like to grow? And would you like to be creative or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And the example, one of the big examples we came up with is, suppose you've grown up always believing you're going to go climb Mount Everest. You're going to be one of those people who make it to the top and don't die. Right. And it's like, in the reality, may be that if you did that while you were still single, you could do that. But once you get married, you shouldn't be in that position where you're going to leave your spouse and your family, if you've had kids, for the 6 months it takes.
Or longer.
Or longer to do it.
It does take longer because you have to go through multiple iterations of training just to get to that 6-month trip. You have to go climb other mountains and be gone for weeks and months at a time to train yourself to get to that point.
Yeah, and exactly right. And if you're an adventurous family and you all do it together, you still probably won't make it up Mount Everest, right? But you could do that hobby together.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my point is, you have to understand that if you're going to choose a married life, then chances are those big dreams, you're going to have to kind of rein them in a little bit and figure out a way together to still explore that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So start rock climbing together, or start, small and work your way up. Like I said, if you're an adventurous family or you've developed that, then, talk about it early. This is one of those big things that if you're going to do it together, talk about this kind of stuff early.
Yeah.
Or before you get married, and then figure out a way, how can we do something like that? Right. And there are plenty of mountains that you can climb that aren't going to kill you. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then so you don't want to get into the gridlock where you're just stubbornly saying, this is what I'm going to do no matter how it affects everybody else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you've made this commitment. A vow of marriage is serious, that, you can't go blow that commitment off. Anyway, so those sorts of things are what cause these, how can we say, the perpetual problems. Okay, so some of the Gottman examples, we'll go through them, but some of them I think we would slightly disagree about them being this type of problem. It should have been solved before you get married.
Yeah.
But we also understand that there are people who've been married, you've been married for a while, or you've already, already gotten married, And now you realize, oh, maybe we ought to talk about this, right?
Right.
But you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of them is how many kids you want to have, or do you want to have children or not?
Mm-hmm.
And if one of you wants X number of children and one of you wants less than that, then you have to compromise, right? But if you and you should talk about that before marriage, but if one of you wants kids and one of you doesn't want kids and you find out after you get married, that's kind of unfair to both of you, right?
Yeah, it really
to
is.
get married without talking about that.
Yeah.
And it's also unfair to get married and lie about it just to get married.
Yeah.
Right? If you lie and say, yeah, I'd like kids too, but then after you're married decide, no, I don't really want kids. You've just defrauded your spouse.
Yeah.
In the marriage. And that's terrible, right? So that's why I think that example that they talk about, you can solve or not solve the problem. You can work around this problem, but you really shouldn't, in our opinion, get yourself into that problem in the first place.
No, you shouldn't. You should be talking about that prior to marriage, and that should be part of the vetting process for sure.
Process.
For sure.
Things like how you handle money.
Yes. You and I had some big issues with that when we first got married.
Yeah.
We did.
If typically one of you is going to be a saver and one of you is going to be a spender.
Right.
Right.
Women tend to be the spenders. They tend to be.
That's not always the case, but they tend to be. But the spenders, I don't want to pass judgment on everybody, but if you spend money because it makes you feel good, then that's not
that's a whole other problem.
That's a whole big problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
Right? And you've heard probably that financial issues are a big cause of divorce. It's like
they are. Yeah.
That's not the root cause, but the financial issue is the symptom because you didn't work out, you didn't compromise, you didn't work on the problem. One of you just can't control your spending or something like
right.
that. Military marriages.
That's something that,
tough.
I mean, they just like I only know this because I've talked to multiple military spouses. These are all things that if you're going to marry someone who's in the military, you need to understand exactly what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
I'm going to marry this person who's in the military and I'm going to be committed to them for the rest of my life. Because that's what marriage is. And then you get into the marriage and you didn't understand that your spouse is going to be deployed this many months out of the year. Or your spouse, you're going to have to move every 3 years.
Yeah.
Those are all things that come with the package. Things like your spouse could be deployed somewhere and not be able to tell you where he is.
Yeah.
And there's the whole, every time they're deployed, they might not come home.
Yeah.
It's also the same thing with if you're going to marry someone who's on the police force.
Sure.
With them, it's more like, what are you signing up for? You're marrying someone who every day they go to work, they may not come home.
Yeah.
That's just, and you need to understand that before you get married. You need to have those discussions. That is definitely a perpetual.
Sure.
Those are can be perpetual problems, right?
So, yeah. So those are the types of things that we're saying, you should talk about this before marriage and really think about it. Don't just let the tingles make you say, yeah, I can handle it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You really need to think about it. And so we're not saying be negative because it's also a great opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Right? Your own character. Part of what marriage is about is improving our characters. And part of that is dealing with that challenge, right? So don't immediately say, no, I can't marry you. Even though I love you, I can't marry you, right? But at the same time, don't say, well, I love you so much that I'm not even going to think about the consequences.
Yep.
Right.
Or think I can change him or her.
Yeah.
After we get, because that won't happen either.
Yeah. Don't, don't fall in love with the idea of your spouse.
Yes.
Fall in love with your spouse.
Yeah.
And as you grow together, that's fine. You can get better together, but don't go into it with the idea that, I'm going to fix them or I'm going to change them.
Right.
Okay. Some of the other things is how frequently you want to have sex. Right? One of you typically will want it more than the other, and you have to work on that together.
Yeah.
Right? And we've talked about this in other contexts.
Right.
Where one of you, I think we did a whole episode on duty sex.
Yeah, we discussed it at least. We at least discussed it.
And it's like typically you start out of duty, but then you enjoy it.
Right.
Because it just takes time to get going.
Yeah.
So don't just assume you're going to jump right into it and be happy every time.
Mm-hmm.
So the frequency shouldn't be low. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
Housework. Who does what share, and does one person really fall behind or get lax about it? It's like,
right.
This could be. This is one of those weird ones where I'm thinking, like, why is it that you just won't see that's like you've agreed to do this bit of the housework, right? What is the problem, right? You've negotiated this thing that you find acceptable, and yet you won't do it. It's kind of like the husband who comes home and he's getting changed and he takes his socks and tosses them toward the laundry basket, but they never reach the laundry basket, ever. And it's like, what the heck is wrong with you, man? Just go pick up the socks and put them in the basket. I think that. I'm sure your wife's thinking that. Right? These are little teeny things, but they could be perpetual because you have not disciplined yourself.
Yeah.
To fix it. So maybe it could fall into the solvable problem, but it isn't because you're lazy or undisciplined. Who knows? Mm-hmm. That's just one example.
Right.
How to talk about or how you discipline your children, right? One of you wants to be easy on them. One of you wants to be strict. So you got to work that out. So these are just examples of these typically unsolvable problems that you're going to have to compromise on and not get everything you want.
Right.
That sort of thing. And that's okay because that's what part of what marriage is. Right? You don't want to, if you go into it thinking you're going to get everything you want, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Definitely disappointed.
Right.
Okay. So part of recognizing this type of problem is whether there's gridlock related to the argument. You have the same argument over and over, and there's no resolution. Or when you discuss it, you end up frustrated, hurt, and rejected. Your conversations are not humorous, or they don't have any affection in them because you're just getting entrenched.
Yeah.
And you become unwilling to budge. You get more and more stuck in the position that you want. And your spouse gets stuck in the position that they want. And so what this means is you are starting to get into this situation of gridlock where you can't even work around the problem. But you have to understand that this may be one of those problems where you're going to have to figure out a way to work around it, rather than, even if it can't be solved, you do need to figure out a way to work around it. And successful couples have these problems, and they've figured out a way to
It's compromise is what
compromise,
it is. Yeah.
To work around these issues. And like I said, some of them, a lot of them, will just get smaller and smaller as time goes by. Or you're going to have to understand your spouse's perspective, right? Like with kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know, dads have a different perspective on raising children than moms do, right? And you don't want to give in to being too strict, but you don't want to give in to being not strict enough, because then your kids, one way or the other, will not be human beings.
Well, they'll also figure out how to play you against each other.
Yeah. So you have to have a combined front together.
Right.
Right? Because remember, your kids are not the sun. You are the sun. You are, right, in the solar system. Your kids revolve around you, not the other way around.
Right. Yeah. There's far too many
moms
families
can be tempted,
yes.
especially moms.
Yeah.
Can be tempted to pour all their energy into their children.
Yes.
And neglect their husbands.
Yeah.
And then have this suicidal empathy that we've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
where everything, you solve the problem for the child, and the husband's going, there's not enough discipline here.
Yeah.
He's going to get spoiled.
Right.
And so a husband who leads will will step in and lead the conversation so that you can solve it together, and you have to understand each other. And if you're unwilling to understand each other, then you won't solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Or you won't even reach a compromise or a workaround. Okay. So in order to prevent the gridlock, you first look at the other principles we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
and practice them. And if you're doing that, then you're communicating with each other, you're understanding each other, you're spending time with each other, you have emotional connection, you have physical connection, and that strengthens your bond so that you can, as we said, face the problem as a couple rather than facing each other as the problem.
Right. Right.
All right. Be on the lookout for small moments when you miss each other. Right. If you're feeling hurt about minor slights, then spend time strengthening your fondness or admiration for each other. Practice turning toward each other. Practice those bids for connection where you pay attention to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Right? And then you don't have to solve the problem. Understand that. You don't give in or lose. The goal is to understand the situation and discuss the issue without hurting each other.
Right.
Right. And it may take time as you come back over and over again to bring this issue up again. And don't look at it as, oh, you're bringing it up again. Oh my gosh, don't do that. Look at it as like, we're continuing to work on this problem, and how can we meet each other either in the middle or 80-20 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that we both get something. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see. So that's really it
Yeah.
for that principle.
Right.
For instance, let's talk about your example here.
Okay. Well, I know, I've talked about having big dreams and like climbing Mount Everest and all that stuff. And this is going to sound really lame, but
dreams don't have to be big,
yeah.
right?
So one of my, and we've talked about this multiple times, but one of the ways that helps me feel like I'm in control of something is that the kitchen is clean.
Yeah.
So yeah. You have dreams about having a clean kitchen. Let me tell you something. When my life is out of control, those are the dreams that I have.
Of a messy kitchen.
Of a messy kitchen. And it got so bad at one point, and I don't remember what was going on in my life, but I literally dreamed that I was in a stadium and it was a cooking competition. So there were multiple kitchens all over this stadium set up for various people to cook in, and every single one of them was dirty.
Yeah.
And then I went to do my own dishes, and when I pulled the dishwasher out, you pull it out and there's the little racks or whatever, and you put the dishes in. Well, I pulled it out, and then I kept pulling, and another set of racks came out, and then another set of racks came out. And it was just full of dirty dishes, and both sinks were full. So when I woke up the next morning, I was like, okay, there's something that's way off in my life right now. I've got to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
So having a clean kitchen points to a lot of things for me, right? So, we've talked about my trauma or whatever, and I just never had any control of anything in my house.
Yeah.
When I was growing up. So I think that's what it is for me. It's just that when the kitchen's clean, I feel like I'm in control of something.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. And so that's one of the things, the reason I wanted to mention or wanted you to talk about that is it's one of those things where it's something from your past.
Yeah.
That seems like such a small thing on one level, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to understand it.
Right.
Right. So it took me time to get it, why it was so important.
Right. Well, I didn't even know.
And you needed to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right.
I would just come home, the kitchen would be a mess, and I'd have a meltdown.
Yeah.
And start yelling at everybody.
Yeah. And it's not like we weren't going to clean it up. It just wasn't done at that moment, or we weren't focusing on it.
Right.
Or the kids weren't, and, with adult children, they can come through and plan to clean something later.
Yeah.
And that's not what you wanted, because chances are they weren't going to come back later. Or even if they were, it was something that bothered you.
Yeah.
So we needed to root that out.
And
figure out why it was such a big deal. Okay. We had a pastor tell us about a picture he had of marriage. And so it's the getting married part, entering marriage, is you and your spouse going on a trip. And as you get to your destination, so you each know about the carry-on luggage that you each have.
Yeah.
So those are the luggage, the baggage, if you want to use those terms, that you have. And it's a small suitcase, and it's not so bad, right? So you know how to deal with that, and you go. But then you go down to the baggage claim, and you see that you each have bags that you didn't know your spouse had, both of you, right? So now you've got this bigger bag in your checked luggage that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we always say it's good to talk about stuff and don't hide things before marriage. But then you've got another set of bags that you didn't even know you had.
Yes.
And so that's what marriage is. Part of what marriage is for is you help each other figure out what's in the bags and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You grow together, right? So we talk about this a lot. It's about growing together. You're put in this cauldron together, or you're chained to each other.
Yeah.
You're shackled to each other. Right? And you can't run away.
Yeah.
Right. And in today's society, in today's culture, you could run away, but you're just going to take that baggage right along with you into your next
relationship. Yep.
So, you ruin your family, you ruin your kids, you ruin your spouse because you run away, or you stay together and work through those issues so that the baggage is dealt with one way or the other.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what we're all about. Okay, so let's see. We're sitting
in an hour.
Almost an hour.
Yep.
So The last principle, I'm not sure why they stuck it at the end after the how you deal with problems. But that last principle is create shared meaning. So, it's not just about raising your kids and splitting chores and all that. Each family creates its own microculture, and we did.
Yeah.
You create your own traditions.
Yeah.
As a family together, and our kids are still remember some of the things that we all did and still like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they create their own traditions and such.
Yeah.
So there's rituals of connection. We talked about going to the Christmas Eve service, baking birthday cakes together. We've done that in the past. We catered our kids' weddings. And we build a gingerbread house each year. The date nights. We take a vacation to a snowy place.
That's for me.
For you, mostly. I like being with you.
We're in the middle of this gingerbread monstrosity right now.
Yeah. So we're working on a gingerbread house right now. And we do try to do something different each year. Okay, so there's just these rituals that we do where we connect throughout the year, like I said, like date nights and all that, but also these big things. We support each other's roles, whatever those are. We support each other related to our family. We balance work and family life, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We have shared goals. So sometimes, we each have goals. And sometimes you can just support your spouse in that goal, and sometimes you join them in that goal.
Right.
So your need for exercise.
Yeah. It was initially to help me control anxiety.
Yeah.
And it helped me get off anxiety meds and some other things. I don't think that I'm oriented that way anymore. Like, I exercise now because it's necessary and I want to be healthy as I get older. So my perspective has changed.
Yeah.
But I did CrossFit for a few years. Actually, I'm kind of back into doing it now, but and then I joined a gym, and then after I was done homeschooling the kids, they all turned around and looked at me and said, "Now what are you going to do?"
Yeah.
Because I couldn't just sit around and do nothing.
Right.
I could, but...
Well, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't.
So, and I figured I was going to end up teaching at a homeschool co-op or something like that. And it just so happened that right around that same time, a training course to become a CrossFit coach came into our area. Yeah. And we happened to have the money to pay for it right then. So you pushed me out the door and said, "You're going to go do this." And the kids were like, "Sounds good. Go do that, Mom." So I went and took it, and I've been a CrossFit coach now for 6 years.
At least.
6 years.
6 years.
Almost, yeah, 6 years. It's been 6 years. And I coach a group of women who are anywhere from slightly older than me to almost 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I spend, that's a part-time.
It's part-time.
It's part-time.
It gives you some purpose. You're not just earning a little bit of money to pay for your own gym membership.
Right.
You're pouring into their lives.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the improvements that they've made.
Yeah, that is true.
So I think that's a good thing, a purpose. I mean, we don't have to affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
You just positively affect a few people.
Right.
It's a big thing. All right. Let's see. And of course, we're doing this podcast. We're doing a marriage podcast now. We're trying to
start a group,
be more involved in our church related to marriages,
right,
and so on. Okay. So those are some shared goals that we have. And finally, the last thing would be shared values, um, some things that we did. This is not really rituals. They used to be rituals, but things that we remember doing. Like we would do a fry day, FRY day,
Oh,
where everything we had for dinner was fried. Like
we
fried
spent
chicken,
the whole day. We
fried
spent a
green,
whole day
yeah,
with the kids in the
yeah,
kitchen,
deep frying,
deep frying
everything.
everything.
We would deep fry Oreos,
I'm getting
fried green
heartburn just
tomatoes,
thinking about it.
okra.
Oh my gosh.
But they loved it. Every Christmas, we still do this one every Christmas. We don't do Friday anymore.
Oh God.
It's a bit much just for us. But you make 1,000 cookies every year, and we give them
800 to
out.
1,000. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Christmas morning, I do cinnamon buns.
Yeah.
And something we used to do when we lived near DC was go down to the DC Mall on Veterans Day and hand out thank you cards to the veterans.
Yes.
And I don't know how many we would hand out, 100 or even
It
got up
started
to-
at 100. It ended somewhere around 1,000. I spent.
Was it that much? That many in one
Oh gosh, maybe it was like 800. I know I
Yeah,
spent
that was a lot.
The number would increase every year.
year? Yeah.
Because the first year we went down there with 100, and it's like we were done in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we
I mean, the
didn't
kids
realize.
just we dispersed the kids,
Uh-huh.
And they would just run around, and I would tell them this is how you identify the veterans as opposed to other people that are just here. And yeah, the first year we sat around the table
Mhm.
with blank cards, and we would stamp them and then write a Bible verse on
Right.
them, and we'd sat there and cranked them out. We did 100.
Mhm.
And then the next year I was like, well, we need more than that. So I think I went to 300. And then I think we had worked our way up to somewhere close to, it was
I don't know.
pretty close.
Yeah. So all the kids got to participate in that. And we did it for 10 years
We did.
before we moved away from DC.
Yeah.
And I remember when one of our daughters said that one guy had collected all of them.
Yeah.
So just think about how that affected those guys,
Yeah.
for 10 years. So anyway, those are 4 areas for creating shared meaning within your family,
Yeah.
right? The Gottmans call them pillars. So again, rituals that we do, supporting each other's goals, having shared goals, and then some shared values, like we just described,
Right.
the value of supporting veterans or whatever. So those are all the principles.
We covered all 7.
We covered them all. But 5 and 6, well, obviously 1 through 4 are the ones that really bring you together, and 7
Yeah.
bring you together. You should keep positive, and so on. And then 5 and 6 are the problem solving ones.
Right.
And really, you can listen to us, but you can also just get that book, the Gottman book that we started. Go back to when we first started this series, and get that book. They've got a lot of questions in there, quizzes, whatever, ways, examples of different types of problems, different ways to start up arguments harshly versus softly. So it's not a big expensive book. It's pretty inexpensive, and it's I think John Gottman and the 7 Principles for Marriage or something like that. I can't remember can't remember the name, but I would suggest getting that and then going through it and hanging on to it. So that's that for this series. We're going to do one more for this year.
Right. We've been having some interesting discussions around the topic of unconditional love and what that means, and does it actually exist?
Yeah, but and how it's used in culture versus what it really means, and so on. So that'll be coming out after this one, and that'll be it for this year.
Yes, it will. We are bumping up against Christmas and doing
too
family
close to Christmas.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah. And then we'll start up again sometime early next year.
Yes.
With whatever we haven't thought that far yet.
Nope.
All right.
Well, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your family, and you will be hearing from us at some point early next year. This has been Marriage on the Half Shell, Raw and Exposed.